free speech, democracy, and social media. Now, there'll be some immediate reactions in the room to these three words, and some of those reactions might be quite strong. I used to work as a social media moderator for a news channel, and from that experience, I can tell you that you'll probably fall into one of two major camps when it comes to free speech. On the one hand, you might be thinking free speech is under threat. Social media corporations are censoring our speech online. Political correctness and cancel culture have gone too far. We'll call this approach the libertarian approach. Think Andrew Bolt, Jordan Peterson, perhaps most infamously, Donald Trump. On the other hand, you might be thinking, yes, free speech is important, but what about the need to protect minority voices from online abuse? What about the threat that disinformation poses to our democracies? More moderation of speech is needed. We'll call this approach the progressive approach. Think Bernie Sanders, Gillian Triggs, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, can you imagine AOC and Trump trying to have a conversation about free speech, democracy, and social media? How do you think that might go? Probably not very well. In my thesis, I want to know how it's possible that libertarians and progressives can arrive at such different conclusions when we fundamentally care about the same three things. How can three words generate such different interpretations? But most importantly, I want to know how we can bring these two sides of the debate together. To do this, I'll be using legal theory methodology to examine the democratic assumptions underpinning these two approaches to free speech. So far, I've found that the libertarian approach is driven by concerns about autonomy and freedom from arbitrary power, whilst the progressive approach is driven by sometimes competing concerns about equality, inclusion, and the protection of democracy itself. Once we do this, we start to get a much clearer picture of what's going on, and we can see the strengths and weaknesses of both approaches, and we can have truly informed policy discussions and public debates about how to protect free speech and democracy in light of social media and other technologies in the future, like AI. Much to the surprise of my own personal progressive bias that I've tried to set aside in my research, but perhaps in line with my training as a lawyer, I've come to the conclusion that neither approach is perfect, but both have strengths that can and should be incorporated, and our regulatory response would be stronger for it. But we can't do this unless we first try to have conversations and deeply understand each other's perspectives at a fundamental level. At a time when we're more polarised than ever, that's what my research aims to do.